Welcome to the Eric T Conversation. I'm Eric T. I'm with my guest, Josh Fay. He's from Maryland. He's here visiting, and I thought I'd bring him in because he's got some interesting perspectives on life. Anyway, so how you doing, Josh?
I'm doing really good. Thank you for having me.
So, you live in Maryland.
Yep, I was born and raised there. My dad is originally Cuban, and my mom is also Colombian. But I was born in Silver Spring, Maryland. Born there, raised there, went to school there, went to university there. Yeah, pretty much grew up there. But been coming down to Florida since I was literally a couple days old. I was born November 3rd, and then literally maybe a couple weeks later, I was traveling down with my family to Orlando to visit my grandparents. So I've been going down to coming down here pretty much my whole life, from start to from all when I was little all the way to here.
So you're like a PE teacher in Maryland.
Yes, I am.
So
yeah.
What's it like being a PE teacher in Maryland? How the kids, man? They gotta be a freaking nightmare.
Oh no, the kids. So I mean, I always tell people that like being a PE teacher in general is probably the best gig in the whole school. Like you get to do sports with the kids, and I teach middle school, so you get like a lot of different type of behaviors. But it's overall it's a fun job, but teaching overall is a very difficult job. Sometimes when I tell people, oh, I'm a teacher, I'm this, and they're like, oh, that has to be so much fun. It has to be easy. And I always tell people, fun it can be, but it's definitely depending on the kids. And then the school that I'm in right now over in Maryland is near DC, so it's a little bit, I guess you can say, is rough, but like it's nothing that I'm not able to control. But like it's definitely has its ups and downs. It's definitely a very mental job. It's not like physically demanding, but like it's very mental. And I mean, it has its pros and cons, just like every job. Like, the pro of being a teacher is just having the summers off. So
you say you're in DC. You know that one of the main guys from Doge, they call him Big Balls. The main guy.
Yes.
He's like 19 years old. He got beat up today trying to do yesterday helping a lady to from getting carjacked.
Oh no, I mean,
he got his ass beat.
Yeah, I mean, that's literally how it is. I mean, like, unfortunately, DC, because of everything that, from all the different type of like living conditions, you get stuff like that happening. It's kind of sad, just because DC is such a beautiful city, and like it gets overcasted by all the crime that you're hearing, and it kind of takes away from the beauty of our nation's capital. So it's kind of unfortunate those type of things are coming out, and it's just sad.
So when you walk to your car after school, you worried?
At least not in my area. At least like where I'm working at, it's not too like I've never my 2 or 3 years that I've been working there so far, I haven't had any issues. There's definitely some interesting characters to walk by there, but I've never felt unsafe, just because we got everybody's coming out to their cars, so you don't feel that bad. But I used to work inside DC my first year teaching, and I mean, it's quite interesting. Definitely was a very big learning experience. But when I would leave my job and when I worked in DC, it could be a little bit challenging, but nothing too much that I couldn't handle.
So you're 28 now, right? You're
Yes,
28.
sir. Mm-hmm.
So okay, so you weren't maybe 12 years since you were in middle school. So
Yeah.
okay, so we're along that. So what's the difference? You see the difference between the kids we've got now than maybe when you were younger, or maybe your parents when they were younger?
Oh, I mean, there's a huge difference. I mean, like back when I was in middle school, I remember just only caring about like playing PlayStation or Xbox, or like just worrying about like Pokemon cards. Now, like, kids are so advanced. Like, I think it's just because of their easy access to the internet.
Do you let them have phones in school?
No, we don't. We don't let them. But that's a huge battle that we're having in just in school in general. Like, it's just like that battle of like taking out your phones. Like, we shouldn't have our phones out when we're in class. And I mean, I'm a PE teacher, so like we're typically moving all the time. So like it's very challenging to keep the kids focused, and that's a huge difference from like when I was in school. I remember when I was in school, I would make sure I'm paying attention to whatever teacher, whatever classroom. I'm always respecting the teacher. I mean, that's that's like a huge thing now. Like, you know, I have kids that, not necessarily my classes, but I've seen kids in other classes just blatantly disrespecting the teacher, saying F you, walking out. Like, it's very, like, you know, appalling to see. And it's just like, it's just, why is it like that? Why are the kids acting like that? Compared to when I was in middle school, I remember if I said something or ever heard a student or one of my classmates cuss at a teacher, they would get sent right to the office, get a call home, and like they'll be either suspended or whatever. Now it's like almost like it's just part of the job.
So
now.
they don't get detention anymore?
Some teachers will give kids the detention, but that doesn't stop them from continuing doing what they're doing. They're going to come back and just continue being disruptive. Like, you may have kids, mattering how the household is at their place. Maybe they have a parent that's very on top of them, making sure that they, you know, get good grades. But unfortunately, some of these kids don't have that support system at home. And there's so much that we as teachers can do. Like, we can show, you know, that we care about them and just show them love, because they might not be getting that at home. So when these kids come to our classrooms and are like loud and disruptive, it's annoying. But then like you also kind of have to see like what's going on at home. And then typically when these kids are like, you know, obnoxious or loud or being just blatantly disrespectful, they typically have some sort of issue at home, and it's something more. There's something more. There's more to be done than just in the classroom. There has to be something outside of school to help them get back in line.
Well, since you're a PE coach, what do you think about Trump's bringing back the presidential physical fitness test? I mean, that's a lot of controversy. I never thought that people would actually be upset about physical fitness standards, but now they have that again.
So it's going. I think that's going to be really interesting. I think it's going to be very beneficial to kids.
Do your grades do it? In middle school,
I mean,
do it?
yeah. When I started, we did like the fitness gram, the pacer test, push-up test. That was my first year.
The pacer test is like Obama's, wasn't it?
It has been something that I remember doing that when I was little, and that was during Bush's administration as well. So like, I'm not sure like where that came from, but I was doing the pacer, push-up, pull-up test ever since I was little. And then now that I've gotten older, and then when I got my master's in physical education, they said that that's something that's not really forced in school systems now. But with this new Trump signing, which he's going to make it mandatory, I'm kind of interested in seeing how that works. And like, we start school, at least up in Maryland, in the next 2 or 3 weeks, and I'm kind of interested in seeing how my department is going to implement that. I mean, I can understand maybe the backlash it's getting, because not all kids are going to be, you know, in the most fittest, and that's also another issue in this country that's a whole different thing and adds its own. But like in the classroom, I think it's good because it gives kids at least a chance to see where they can improve. Like, they can, maybe in the beginning of the year, they can only do, let's just say 20 laps in the pacer test. And then what I remember doing is just keeping like a log. And then maybe in the beginning of the year, they can only run 20. And then throughout the year, we're going to do exercises to help their cardiovascular get better. And maybe mid-year, get like oh, perfect. Can you hear me better like that? All right, perfect. All right, perfect. So yeah, like, I feel like it's a good way to just keep kids responsible on their own actions and participating in class. And I'm pretty intrigued on seeing how that's going to work at least in our school. But I think it's a good idea. I think it's going to make kids more active, in which it's the main.
But what about the whole every kid is now, they can get ridiculed if they don't pass it, or they fail the test. And that's what the left is talking about. Democrats are all pissed off that, now the kids are going to be able to get teased. There are some people that are like, well, everybody should, and I remember taking it in elementary school, and I never got the presidential fitness test. My best friend did, but I never got the patch. And I always felt kind of bad, like, man, I never got it. I couldn't do the pull-ups, all the way, and I couldn't stretch. I wasn't very flexible.
Yeah, I mean, I was the same way. Like, I never was the most athletic kid, but I still tried. And I mean, that's just how the left is. They're trying to, I guess you can say, just pamper so everybody feels safe. And I mean, I can understand it, but at the same time, that's just not how the real world is. Like, you know, you're going to have to struggle. That's just, there's going to be people better than you, not because of like they're, you know, just because they look a certain way or because they're more athletic. It's just how life is. So I mean, like, I think it's a good thing for kids to understand that at an early age, especially in the middle school, because we're prepping them to high school, and that's pretty much the transition of, all right, we're gonna baby you every step of the way, and then by eighth grade, they should be already understanding, like, you know, life is real after school. So I mean, like, the left is always gonna find a way to like make it something that's not, but I think it's gonna give kids a good sense of responsibility, not for them, you know, not for anybody else, but for themselves. So, but that's just something that we always hear from the left, always kind of like being like babies about things that I think at the end of the day is going to benefit the kid at the long run.
So Coach Faye's ready to bring out the new presidential fitness test?
I would. Why not? I mean, like, it gives kids motivation to do well. Like, it's not giving everybody a trophy, but like, if I say, all right, only the best can get this, you're gonna have kids, especially the athletic kids, and maybe kids that might not be seen as athletic, try to get that first. Like, I'm always rooting for the underdog, and it would be so cool to see a kid that may not be the most athletic win that presidential fitness like reward, or like a reward that maybe we might do in our classes and all that. It's nice to see.
Skinny ass kid that can do pull-ups like crazy.
Exactly.
And he's the nerd, but yeah, he can do pull-ups and stretch all the way down to the end of that box.
Exactly. So you never know. Like, that's just, and maybe that kid that does like 50 pull-ups never knew he had the capability of doing that because he was pushing himself. So a lot of these times it's good to see where the kids can push themselves, and having a external like reward like that, or if, you know, other PE teachers in the nation do that, I think that's a good idea. I think it will be cool to see what that brings.
So what are like the cool games you guys do at PE now?
So at least in middle school, we do a lot of like team sports games. So like we do like handball, flag football. I have one of my coworkers brought cricket. Like, we were doing softball, and like softball never hit with kids. Like, it's just so boring. They're just kind of standing there. So he brought cricket, and he didn't use an actual bat. He used just like a kickball. So we used a kickball to play cricket, and that was a huge hit. I think that was one of the best things that at least he has done. I'm hoping to do that one, you know, this year with my classes. Another cool game that we did was called mat ball, which is like also a variation of a kickball. So like in regular kickball, it's just basically baseball, but with using your feet, where you can only go one side. So when you kick, you go to first, second, third, and then home plate, and you score a run. In mat ball, you can decide whether or not you can go to the left side or the right side. So you can go on either side. You don't always have to go to the right side. And then the thing is that you need to go around and touch home twice. Pretty much all your traditional sports games we do. We don't do dodgeball. In Maryland, they like banned that. That's like one of the
Violent games.
Yeah. '2000s, but those were some of the fun games that we have done. Every year we do sometimes something different. So maybe this year we might bring another, like maybe street hockey. Like, street hockey is something I always wanted to do. I tried to bring lacrosse to my school, and like in Maryland, lacrosse is a huge sport. So like, and in the school that I'm teaching in, that's not really a sport that they play. A lot of the sports that the kids play at my school are soccer, basketball, football, just the main three. So when I try to put like lacrosse into it, I'm like, what is this sport? This sport sucks. It's holding a stick. I can't catch it. I'm like, but you can't.
Native Americans did it.
Exactly.
Native Americans created
school, all of us were black, Hispanic, white, and it was a really big mixture of kids playing it, not just white people. Maybe in the richer schools, it was all whites, but all the schools that I was in, they were all different races was playing the game. And then the county that I work in is a very Latino based county, so we have a lot of Hispanics playing it. And I was trying to say, like, no, you don't have to just be white to play this sport. This, African Americans play it, Latinos play it. I'm Latino. Like, I may not look like it. I'm just kind of like in disguise, but like I played it. My best friend Nikhil, who's Hindu, he played it as well. Like, it was a sport for everybody. And then there was a video that I showed that was kind of explaining that like lacrosse is for everybody, not just one certain group. And like you said, like the Native Americans made that sport here, so like that's their sport technically, and they say they want to share their sport, and they love that different groups and different countries around the world are playing it. So like I was trying to implement that with my kids. Some of them liked it. Some of my eighth graders like, Mr. Fay, like I'm gonna see if I can try for the lacrosse team when I go to high school, and like that was my main goal, and I felt kind of successful when I was able to do that with some of my kids.
You guys don't have like organized teams, like schools sports, like like
Yes,
soccer or whatever, volleyball.
So when I was growing up, the middle school that I was going, like the county that I grew up with, didn't have middle school sports. However, the county that I work in right now, which is it's called Montgomery County, they actually have middle school organized sports. So the school that I go to, that I work in, has a softball team. They have a cross country team. They have a soccer team, a basketball team. No football, but they're trying to implement flag football as a organized sport in middle school. So they do have that, and I think that's awesome. When I started working in that county, I thought that was one of the coolest things ever, because when I grew up in the county that I was from, they didn't have that. So I thought it was cool that kids were able to join a team. Like they had to have a certain GPA, have a certain grades to make the team. So I think that was also a great way to motivate kids that were good at basketball and maybe not have the best grades. So it was cool that they were able to get their grades up and play for the team and represent their school. So yeah, we do have that, which I think is great.
So being a PE teacher, and you get all kinds of kids. You get the non-athletic kids. You got the athletic kids.
Yeah.
You got the kids that are probably troublemakers.
Yep.
Do you still dress out? Is that dressing out a thing?
No, like nowadays we don't give them a grade for even having like athletic clothes. They could literally be wearing Crocs.
Oh, see, that's bullshit. There's no PE clothes anymore.
No,
clothes?
they can't. I guarantee you, when you were in school, you got yelled at if you didn't have PE clothes, or you couldn't even do anything.
Yeah, we had to wear uniforms.
Yeah,
we had a PE uniform.
Same here. Like in my school, we had the shorts, the shirt, and if you didn't have the shorts, you would lose 10 points in your grade. If you didn't have a shirt, that's like another 10 points. Like we used to get graded on clothing, and now that the county took that out. So the kids will literally be coming in. Like I remember one day a kid had pajama pants, like little like sleeping flip flops, and just a regular T-shirt, and it was like, yeah, this is what I'm gonna work on. I was like, where are your tennis shoes? Like, I don't got one. I'm like, okay, like we can't have you play anything because you don't have the right attire. And they're like, all right, and they don't care. They will just sit down and be on their phones. But yeah, like that they don't require kids to change. Like locker rooms are just basically a place where kids would just only put their stuff. And even that, they don't even leave their stuff in the locker rooms anymore. They just bring all their stuff with them. And our gyms sometimes look like Lily is just like a supply depot where like they would just drop their stuff and do whatever. So and at least my school, we try to enforce kids to leave their stuff, leave their phones, leave their AirPods, because it's time to, be in class. Even though we're in a gym scenario, we're, playing sports or whatever, it's still a classroom. So like we try to enforce that, and that's just a losing. But like in the beginning of the year, we might be strong about it, but during the middle to the end, the teachers are tired. They deal with so much.
Nobody cares they wear Crocs with kickball.
Yeah, at that point, it's a losing battle, because then like they're gonna be saying to their parents, and their parents getting involved. That like, if you want my kid to have shoes, maybe get them shoes. And we do have like extra shoes, and even that they don't even take advantage of that. But just kids don't really care as much. Like they don't care. Like if you say, all right, would you really want to see in PE? And they're like, I don't care. I'm like, what do you mean you don't care? This is PE, especially with me. Like I'm such a chill teacher in general. So like I say, if you get a C in Mr. Faye's class, you have to be doing something wrong. I tell that to all my kids all the time. If you get a C or anything below that, what are you doing? All you have to do is just move. Just telling kids to walk now is a huge deal. Like it's just crazy. So like I remember when I was in middle school and elementary school, I was a chunky boy, but I still did everything. Like I wanted to play all these sports. I just may not have been like the best fit person that, back then, but like I still did stuff.
You guys still do like the body fat measurements and stuff like
They
that?
stopped doing that.
They stopped doing the body
that.
fat. Oh God.
They stopped
They
that.
stopped doing it. They stopped body shaming people.
Yeah, they stopped doing that a way like during when I was in high school. They stopped doing that. You can test kids that want to know they could do it, but we don't enforce that. Like they just because of that.
What about the scoliosis test? You do the scoliosis test? They don't do that either.
No, I mean they do like the stretching, like they like do the reach test. But like we didn't do that at all last year, at least in my school. We did not do nothing like that. Maybe this year with the implementation of everything, maybe, but at least
we got a bunch of fat kids playing video games all day. We need to bring back the fat calipers on kids in middle school and start pinching their sides and their fat arms and let them know your body fat's 46%. Time to get on that freaking treadmill.
No, yeah, so that's a whole different thing, and like. Yeah, it's just people are scared to hurt other people's feelings, and like they don't want the repercussions of kids complaining to their parents and their parents saying like, "Why are you singling out my kid?" I mean,
so what's the whole district is like? We're gonna do away with this.
Yes, I mean like at least in almost all the counties in Maryland. I mean, Maryland's very blue, as you know. Like it's very liberal, and so like which is. Okay, I mean, like, there's nothing wrong with that, but like, it's just like we're just making it too soft. Like, kids are like, literally in my county. I'm not sure if they changed this, but like, you could miss an exam in my county, and if you just put one answer, you still get a 50%. Like, if you take an exam and you don't even finish it, 50% right there. You don't get like a 2%. You get a 50%. So like, it's just trying to like. I'm not sure why they do that because a lot of kids that
they're babying people. That's why we have a bunch of people in our society that are young adults that are pretty much useless because we're allowing them to skate by with a 50% by just putting your name on it or something.
It's so unfortunate.
And then it carries on later on in life. You got they're adults. And they think the whole life is just a 50% thing.
Yeah, I mean, like you have to try. Like even if you don't like what you're doing, you're going to have to try. I mean, I'm also, I also have to put that myself. Maybe some days I don't want to do this, but I'm still going to try and put my effort on doing something. So like we're setting these kids up for disaster, like you said. Like they go to high school and they see that it's not like how middle school is, and then they go through high school just coasting, just doing the bare minimum. And then when it's time to go to college, or if they don't decide to go to college, if they want to go to trade, or, if they want to go to the military, there's different avenues kids can go if they don't go to college. But like
you said about trade. I mean, do you know? I mean, maybe middle school and you being a PE teacher, maybe don't talk to them that much. But do they have anything in that school system down there that talks to people about going to trade school? Maybe not, because college isn't for everybody.
Yeah, I mean,
and focus on like, hey, you know what, Tommy, maybe school, college isn't for you.
Yeah.
But you're good with your hands.
Yeah.
And you've been in shop class and woodworking class, and you make a hell of a freaking chair.
At least I don't know how it is in high school, because in middle school we do have shop classes like that where we do word work. Like, there's even engineering classes and like electrical classes where kids are literally doing like electrician stuff, which I think is awesome. There's sometimes they implement like HVAC stuff, but like I think that's more of a high school thing. And just because I'm not involved in a high school setting, I don't know. But I remember when I was in high school, there was times where like people would talk about going to HVAC school or some sort of trade school for like being a mechanic or working in like the elevator like union, stuff like that. So like I don't know in my county, but like they don't really talk about trade. It's kind of like a thing that I think a lot of kids don't know about until they get out of school and like they figure out that, oh, I don't have to go to college to be making six figures or making a decent salary. I mean, so like I always tell people like, find a trade. Like if school's not for you, find a trade, become an electrician, become an HVAC person. I know I have a buddy that worked in the elevator union. he's making great money. And I mean, like, if you're not scared of heights, then
And
that's,
so it's unions though. That's union money.
yeah,
You get those blue states with their unions, man.
So like he also is in the Army Reserve, so he does that on the side. But like he's literally in skyscrapers in DC, just doing that job and making a good amount of money. So like that's something I sometimes tell the kids when I'm like talking to them, like, maybe if you want to look into trade school, look into that. But like, how is that implemented in schools today? I don't know. Maybe some schools out there, they are more open about doing trades and like having more shop classes. So I'm not entirely sure how that is in my county, but like I remember hearing a little bit like that when I was in high school.
So how's a guy like you end up in Maryland?
So
Like, how's your family? Your family's Hispanic. Your dad's Cuban. Your mom's Colombian. So how do you guys wind up? Usually you wind up in Florida or
Oh, yeah,
one of those kind of states. But now you're all the way in Maryland, freezing cold weather.
Oh, no.
Both your parents are from
very hot country.
tropical climates, and you end up in Maryland with snow.
So this is how it all started off. So my dad's dad, my grandfather. So my dad's Cuban, and during my dad's when my dad was very young, during Castro's revolution in the late 50s and early 60s, my grandparents they said, we're gonna leave. Like, this what's going on. It's not what we like. They need to talk about communism. And then like when Fidel got in power, my grandfather's brothers lost all their like belongings, like farmland, like anything, like shops, were all taken by the government. And then my grandfather was like,
yeah, that's called communism. It's not socialism. They try to spin it. They try to call it socialism, but it's communism. It's called what it. They put a new spin on it, put some lipstick on it, and now that's not communism. It's called socialism, but it's all the same shit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's a whole different thing. But like when my grandparents saw that, they were like, we had to get out of here. So they started getting the papers ready. They were trying to get my dad to leave with them. But during that time, when Fidel got into power, he's passed a law that said that any Cuban citizen that had their papers fixed to leave the country and had a child or a male child below the age of 18 will have to stay. They will have to stay on in the country to serve mandatory military time. So my dad, during that time, he was in 1963. He was like 13, 12 years old. So he had to stay in Cuba by himself when my grandfather and my grandmother and my aunt left Cuba. So my dad was left alone at the age of 12 and 13 in Cuba by himself. Nobody to tell him what to do. He had no father figure to help him with growing up. He's a 12-year-old boy, 13-year-old boy. I couldn't even imagine how I would be if I was just left alone without my dad or my mom or my brother. And that's what happened to my dad. But the reason why my grandparents went to Maryland is because they had a family friend there. So my grandparents moved up there, but left my dad. So my dad, from the age of 13 all the way till the age of 32, grew up by himself. And just imagine the headache that he probably had growing up without having anybody guiding him how to live life. So he told me some stories of him growing up, and like I can only imagine he was cutting sugar cane by the age of 14. Him, dealing with guys that are like older than him, like not being able to eating like rats, eating birds, because in Cuba, like nobody was eating, nobody was able to eat, so like they had to eat whatever they could. So my dad would tell me stories of like him sneaking into warehouses, getting food. So like it's my dad's lore or my dad's like story is like almost something like out of a movie in my opinion. So when my dad was, he served his mandatory military time, he almost was also sent to Angola to help the Angolans Communist Party, gain power. But luckily they didn't send him and all that. So after that, he came back to Cuba and got out of the military. And then from 19, from 19 to 32, basically he got married at the age of 18. He had one of my sisters. He got divorced at like 20. And then from 32, he then moved to Panama. So when he was able to go and they gave him the green light to go, he went from Cuba to Panama. And he lived in Panama for a year. And then from Panama, he went to Maryland. And that's how he ended up in Maryland. So my grandfather was working at the University of Maryland. And he gave my dad a job at the University of Maryland as a baker. Because my grandfather, from when he moved to the United States, worked at University of Maryland as a baker as well. So my dad got a job in the University of Maryland as a baker. So that's how he got there. My mom, she was born in Cartagena, Colombia, and she wanted to study abroad. So she told my grandfather, my mom's dad, that hey, I want to study in a university in America. So she wanted to at first go to Florida State. So she wanted to go to Florida, but she didn't know anybody in Florida at the time. But she had a family friend that lived in Maryland, and her friend was like, "No, come to the University of Maryland, and like you can live with me." So like when she applied to University of Maryland, got in, and then ironically, my mom and my dad came to the United States the same year, 1982. My dad was, I believe, in October, and I think my mom also immigrated to the United States also at like October 30th. So they were pretty much, they got to the nation, they got here at the same time, same year. So she went to University of Maryland, and that's where she ultimately met my dad. They got married in 1990 and had me and my brother, and that's how we ended up everybody in Maryland. But all my sisters, one of my sisters lives down here in Miami. I have cousins that live here. I have I had an uncle that moved here from Colombia. I had an aunt that lived here, also in Miami. So like, everybody in our family lives down here, but we're just one of the few people that live up in Maryland.
So since your dad left Cuba, he's got to be a Republican, I would imagine.
Yes, he definitely, like when he came to
I was on. I don't know. I was on doing a live. I think it was last night. And I was talking to a guy, and he kind of hated like America, just hated it.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Well, I'm Cuban." I go, "You're Cuban?" I said, "That's very strange." I said, "You must be a third generation Cuban if you don't like American, because if you came from Cuba or your parents came from Cuba," I said, "that's pretty rare that you would be that negative
towards
and be a hardcore liberal." It was just very shocking to me. I said, I don't think I've ever met a Cuban who likes liberalism, especially in this day and age.
Yeah, I mean, like, so like when my dad came to the country and like he started seeing how the system was here, he was told that like if you're gonna vote for any party, vote for the Republicans, because the Democrats use the same tactics as the communists or socialists. They typically will say, we're going to give you we're going to give this for free, we're going to do this for you, we're going to do that. But in reality, they're not going to do anything.
It didn't work out for your dad too well, did it, over there?
No, yeah. And I mean, like, my dad, he firsthand saw what a communist dictatorship is. Like, everybody stays the same. Nobody is able to go up in rank. You can't even start an own business without going bankrupt because you don't have the sufficient resources to even start a business in Cuba. So like he sees how the left is now. Maybe the left back then was maybe a little bit different than what it is now, because right now the left is just too far left. Like they're talking about having, all their things that they talk about are very socialist ideas, which in theory sounds great. Like, it sounds great. Everybody gets everything for free. Everybody is able to be the same. But
it'd be great having free grocery stores. New York, that guy who wants to run for mayor, Mandani, he wants to give free grocery stores, take the subsidies that they give those other grocery stores to open up grocery stores in New York. I mean, and he wants to give free grocery. See how long that lasts.
Exactly. So, I mean, like, they say pretty things to entice people. And in the case of New York City, like, half the people that live in New York City are a bunch of college kids. Like, very young people live in New York City. So like when you have a person saying, "Oh, we're gonna freeze rent, we're gonna do all this, free that, and we're gonna make public transportation free," like, it sounds great, especially with these college kids that are coming out of college and are young and aren't. And I mean, like, a guy like that sounds like a savior in New York City, because it's crazy in New York City. It's so expensive there. So like a guy like him, of course he's going to be popular because he's saying all the right things to the right group of people, and those group of people are going to go with him. But in reality, that's just a delusion. That's just how everything is. Nothing can be like that because just that's just how.
No, nobody, these young people, they don't realize where the money has to come from.
Exactly.
You don't, it just doesn't come out of thin air. All those projects that they're trying to give you, all that free groceries that they want to give you, got to come from somewhere. They got to write a check from somewhere, and they don't understand that it's coming from your tax dollars and the money that you make. And sure, sounds great to have maybe your rent paid for, having a living income, a living wage that you can, buy everything you want. But that money's got to come from somewhere.
Exactly.
And they just can't wrap their head around the fact that for every dollar you make, you can lose 60 cents of that dollar, 70 cents of that dollar. Yeah, sure. You can go buy free groceries.
Yeah.
Try taking a vacation,
You're not going to be able to. And I mean, that also influenced something that I experienced this summer. Like I went to Spain this past summer, like in the beginning of summer, and they are very proud on how they live. I mean, I went to Madrid. I didn't see any garbage on the ground. Public transportation was probably the best I ever seen in my life. You could go to one point of the city to the other with no issue. But when you start, like, it's literally a clean city. And I sometimes say, why could the capital of this country be so much nicer than my capital, where I'm from in the United States? Why can DC look like this? But then, like, when I start talking to Spaniards that actually live there and like work, they say they get taxed like 40% there.
Yeah, it's a ton.
And I mean, I was like, okay, so that makes sense. But then like the regular Spaniard says, like, we can't do, like, yeah, we live good, but like we can't like move up. Like we cannot even become rich, basically. Like they're kind of stuck where they're at. I met a doctor there and he's making like the equivalent of 60 to 70K. And he's like, I'm making no money here. And like they're taxing him so much. And it's like, it's just so expensive. So he's thinking of leaving Spain.
Costs a lot of money to keep a clean city.
Exactly. So like, it's just crazy. So like that doctor was like, yeah, I'm going to move to the United States. And I'm like, yeah, you're going to make a shit ton of more money over here because how everything is over here. But like,
but see, look at that. He wants to come here.
Yes.
Isn't it crazy? It's so awful. The people want to come here in droves. They don't get, there's no place like America. And everybody understands that. All these other countries, yeah, they may get all free health care. They may get all these benefits, but it comes at a cost and a huge price for their pockets. For every dollar they make, they're losing 40, 50, 70% on everything they make to funnel and feed that whole machine that the government's running.
Exactly. So he was explaining that, like, let's say he makes $70,000 a year. That's and then just take away 40% of that income. He's with like 30,000, 25,000 a year, and he has to, feed his family of 5. He has to, pay the car. Like if he has a car note, he has to pay the mortgage of his house. That's so much money coming out of his pocket. And where can he put that to save? So of course, when he looks at the options of moving to the United States, it's more enticing to come here because he's gonna be making so much more and get more bang from his buck. So, but that was a good contrast on seeing how Europeans live into how we live. So like, I just wish there was a way to like have some sort of balance and kind of have like the cleanliness you see in Europe, but also kind of have the liberty and like free economic power that you have here. So
isn't that crazy? You got these blue states like New York and Detroit and all these states that are ran by the blues, and they get taxed the highest, but yet they got the shittiest cities. So they got the highest tax rates, but yet, so where's all that money going? Where's all that money going?
That's the question. Where is all that money going? Like, that just shows you there's some sort of corruption.
They have all those government programs, but yet
you don't see it in the streets. Like, you look at DC, like if you're thinking of the world's superpower, you're expecting a city with beautiful streets, which they do have, but it's just in the minority. And like, you go inside the street, you see trash. You unfortunately see homeless people. Like, it's just like, is this what it is? Like, this is what the best country in the world is supposed to look like? No. So like, you have all this money going for public transportation or all these social stuff, but you don't see it in the streets. So you ask the question, where is that money going to? Somebody's getting paid.
Yeah,
And
somebody's getting paid.
Somebody's getting all that money.
Getting paid. That's why all these politicians are living on the high horse, because they're the money's coming into the government, but they're not they every year when they need elections and they need you to vote for them, they come in there, tell you all the things you need to tell. Oh, they're like, oh, we're going to do this for you. We're going to do that for you. Make sure you donate. They get your vote, and then you never see them again. You never see them again.
And it's just something you see on, like, I wouldn't even say just on one side. It's almost on both sides at times. So, like, there's definitely some sort of corruption going on where that money, and we all see the money on like the news and then online, billions, almost millions of dollars being spent. But where does it go? And that's something that I just can't. When I came back from Europe, I was talking to my friends about that. I was like, I don't understand. Like, we have so much money, all this power. We should put all this money into, cleaning up these cities and like.
Stop sending it up to foreign aid. Stop. Closing USAID was a huge thing.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna have they still bitching about sending money to other countries, but we need to clean our streets and get our country squared away before we start passing money to other places.
I totally understand. I think we need to first worry about ourselves and our citizens before we try to help other countries or try to do something in other countries. No, let's just focus on us. Like, it's all about us. Like, we have all this resources. Let's help the citizens in this country do that. But implementing that, it just seems so hard. We can talk about it and all that, but how are we going to implement those things so me and you and then our kids and then everybody else, get like the stuff that we deserve as citizens here. So like I don't know what has to be done, but like it's just definitely something that I just don't understand why nothing can be done up in DC where all these politicians are getting all this money, but like why can it not be done? Why isn't
why can't they clean up their cities?
Exactly.
Like, why can't you get the filth off the street? Why can't you help the homeless people and get them places that they're not living in, tents and makeshift houses on the street and cardboard boxes, up and down, San Francisco. They can do it.
Yeah,
they can do it. It's just, I think the government is so much corruption, and they've blinded so many people by what they promise. And it's like they always move the goalposts every election. It's like, well, nobody asks the questions of, well, what have you not done? Like, with the whole tariffs and all this, everybody's getting on Donald Trump about the tariff, but no one's talking about, hey, Walmart, you've made billions and billions of dollars in profit last year, but yet you're going to raise your prices 51%. No one's yelling at them. Just like, so nobody goes after the politicians and say, hey, our cities are shit. They're homeless everywhere, but yet you live in a nice house.
Yeah.
You drive a nice car, and every year you come, every 2, 4, 6 years, you come asking us for your vote, and you don't do anything different for us.
I mean, it's just that. I mean, we saw that Gavin Newsom when Xi Jinping came to California. He cleared
it all up.
He cleared it all up in days. I think it was L.A. that he cleaned up.
San Francisco, something like that. Yeah.
One of those major cities in California, they cleaned it up in days for the leader of China to come here, and it literally looked like a beautiful city. Like no trash, nothing, everything. No, why could that just happen every day? Like, I don't get it. So like, it's just a whole ball that it's just hurts my brain thinking about, because it's just like, I don't get it. I don't know why we can't do that.
So so let's say your dad came in from Cuba. I mean, is he obviously worked hard, obviously loves his country.
Yeah.
So I guess your parents are like, there's no better place than this place.
Of course. No, I mean, like, my dad probably in a million years wouldn't have thought that he would be in the scenario that he is in today. He's retired. He worked at the University of Maryland for 30 plus years. He gave me and my brother the opportunity to go to school for free, because one of the benefits that was from working at the University of Maryland, and why he worked there for so long, was free tuition. So me and my brother got free tuition because he worked there for 30 years and sacrificed a lot, working long hours, and to give me and my brother the opportunity to go to school for free. Not technically free, because we had to pay fees. So very less than what other people's, and we had the privilege of having that. So he sacrificed a lot. He saw his two kids graduate university with my brother got a bachelor's in mechanical engineering. I got a bachelor's in kinesiology and then a master's in physical education. And like he says to me, like the biggest reward in life was not, being able to buy this car or, owning two houses. He said that the best thing that in his life is seeing me and my brother succeed in life. And like I'm very thankful to having a father like him, a mother like I did. My mom worked two jobs at one point, trying to be able to.
So you love America?
Oh, of course, yes. I mean, it gave me the opportunity of where I'm at, and even today, I'm getting a fourth degree in cybersecurity. Like, I'm not sure if I'm not sure if I was in anywhere else. Like, if I was in Cuba or Colombia, I wouldn't have this opportunity that I have now. So I'm very grateful that my parents had made the sacrifices that they did to come here and give me and my brother the life that we have now. Like that's
how do you feel about, since your parents came here from another country and they had you guys here? How do you think about the whole birthright citizenship thing? Because that's a huge controversy right now with Trump talking about the 14th Amendment. I mean, you familiar with what it was about? What it mean?
From what I'm aware of, if you were pregnant with a kid from, like, let's say if you were Colombian and you were pregnant with a kid and you give birth to a kid here illegally, I mean, in other countries like in Switzerland, like if you were pregnant with a kid and you came from Colombia and the kid was born there, they're not giving that kid citizenship.
Yeah, they're not getting citizenship.
I mean, there's
like the biggest thing is if you're here illegally. So if you come here and you're a green card status holder, or you have a visa, and you come here to illegal means and you give birth while you're here, that kid is given citizenship.
Yes.
But if coming over here and just plopping a baby on the ground,
and then he gets citizenship.
That's
it's definitely a very touchy subject, and I can understand the emotions that brings to people that do come here illegally. But like,
so your dad had a green card. Did you come a green card? What was this?
So he came here and he had everything. He had to wait a year in Panama to make sure that everything was good. So he didn't.
Oh, so he waited in line?
Pretty much, yeah. Like they not technically.
Look at that! Look at that! Yeah, somebody actually waited in line, and got here the right way. Is that crazy? People can do it.
People could do it, and that's back then. So like he waited a year in Panama, and like being in Panama for him was crazy as well because in Panama he was able to eat well, he was able to work, get money. Like he was living good in Panama. So like he had to still wait a year before coming here. Before coming to the United States. So he waited. My mom also had a process coming here as well. Like she did everything in Colombia, and from what I was told, it also took her around like a year. So, and then like now, like with all these people coming in, like it's probably a very long process. And
how does your dad feel about all that? All those people coming here?
It's
him being an immigrant for himself.
It's something that he says that like you have like you can't do that. So everywhere else in the world, you can't just go and just say, all right, I'm gonna be here. No, they're like if you go to like if I go to Mexico. They're gonna when they find me and see that I don't have any papers here, they're gonna kick me out and send me back here. But like here, why is it an exception here? Why are we allowing all this to happen? Like we should have laws to understand who's coming in this country. Immigration is good. Like we bring people the people who really want to come here are going to come here and work. They're going to be part of our society and make our society better. But unfortunately, some of these people that come here have bad intentions. They come here with criminal records. And then when they come here, they do things and they just pretty much get away with it. So those people who are doing criminal stuff here or have criminal records, they shouldn't either be coming here, or if they do come here, they should be sent back and kind of have like a little bit of a briefing on like, who are you? Why are you coming here? And like understanding who's coming into your country, because you don't let just some random person come to your house. Like you want to make sure get to know them, understand where they come from. And then like when you got a good idea, come inside, like let's have dinner together. So like that's like the same thing here. So like, why can we do that without getting scrutinized? And like, but then comes the question, and like, you know, like I said, it took my dad a year to come here. It took my mom a year to come here. So like the process of becoming a citizen is a long process, and some of these people may not have the time. The people
Are your parents citizens?
Yes, both of them are.
So how long was the process for them once they got here on whatever visas they were able to get? Probably mom had a school visa, your dad had to work, whatever, got here. And once they got here, what was their process for them to become actual citizens? This was 30 something years ago,
Yeah,
but
so
still, the process probably isn't too much different than it is.
So it definitely took my dad a good amount of time. I'm not exactly sure on the wait that he had to do, but he probably got it quick because my grandfather and my grandmother were citizens already. So I'm not sure if that made the process faster for him, but he definitely.
Oh, so your grandparents got citizenship here as well?
Yes.
See? People can do it.
Yes, people can do it.
You can do it.
However, one thing, just because during that time when my grandparents came in the 60s, there was a law that said that if any Cuban refugees were coming from Cuba escaping communism,
Yeah.
they were given citizenship like that. But so when my dad came in the 80s, I'm not exactly sure if that was still in play, but from what my dad said, he probably has told me, it just went over my head, but he definitely got it probably a couple years into him being here. Maybe not as quick as my grandparents did, but he definitely got it probably quicker than what it is now. My mom was on a student visa, so she actually waited a long time until she kind of like, I think, married my dad, and she was able to get all her stuff settled because of the marriage with my dad and him being a citizen already as well. So that's just like, just one like scenario, but like a lot of the scenarios now, like it's just like there's just so much people, there's too much people.
Too many people. I mean, when you have estimates of 20 million people come in 4 years, they don't get it. There's a huge strain on hospitals, emergency room care,
Exactly.
school systems.
Yes.
The elementary school programs. I mean, it's just the list goes on and on. That if you have, that's why you have to regulate who comes in here or say, okay, this is where you want to go. Okay, well, we'll got to see if this works out for us, because right now we've got so many people going there. They're that little town, whoever it is, and Mayberry can't handle another 50,000 immigrants coming to that town. They just can't physically sustain that.
So I mean, it's just so much people now, and like no country can sustain that. Like we technically could because of the resources we have, but like there's going to be a time where we're not going to be able to. Just too much. So like, it's not that we don't want people coming into this country. We just want to know who's coming into the country, and just having a little background check.
Yeah, the simple logic. A simple check. It depends where you're coming from. Honestly, it depends where you're coming from.
Yeah.
What kind of check you get, but you have to check who's coming in here. You got to see if they have criminal records. You got to see if they like the country. I mean, there was a woman that went to Mexico. I don't know if you saw that. Congresswoman went to Mexico. And she said she's Guatemalan. She said she has more. She is more Guatemalan than she is American.
Yeah.
And she was born here in the United States. And and the value of coming here, I think it gets skewed.
Yes.
And it's like, if you get everything for nothing, how much do you really value it? How much do you really value the United States if you come here and then they give you a blanket amnesty and you're just here sucking on the teat of the United States? And you don't have to earn it. I think if you actually come in, you got to earn it.
Yeah.
And you appreciate coming here, you'll love it a lot more. And you won't say, even though you're a first generation American, you're not going to go to Guatemala and start praising that you're more Guatemalan. Guatemala comes first before America. I mean, how do you have somebody in Congress that has basically an allegiance to another foreign country, which is mind blowing in itself? But that's what happens when you don't give people value of what it is to be an American, what it is to come to this country. I think they lose it.
Yeah.
And they think it's just, it's not a valuable asset to these people.
They don't value it. And that just shows you how crazy everything is now. Like you have people in our government just saying, I'm more this, but you're living in this country, you're representing this country in another country, and you're saying, I don't have any value in that.
If it's so good over there, go back. I mean, that's, people say that, but seriously, like Ilhan Omar, if she loves Somalia so much, just go back there and do something to help that country. Like go back and help that country. But you're in the United States trying to do good for your country because you're here. You're able to try to do that.
Yeah.
But nobody's willing to go back to their home country and try to make that better.
Exactly. I mean, like it's just easy here. It's just like they're able to do whatever they want because they know that if they go back to where they're originally from, it's going to be a whole different process. So like I wish some individuals like her, I don't know, like I don't get it because when you hear what she does and says, you probably think that like she hates this place. But when you talk to her, she's
I think she does. I think she absolutely hates America. Yeah. I think she doesn't like the freedom. She doesn't like the people that founded this country. I think she just despises the United States so much, but yet it has given her so much.
Exactly.
And they don't appreciate it. If you ever heard Arnold Schwarzenegger, he was on The View about a month ago, and you hear what he said. And they were trying to bait him into,
they were trying to bait him.
He came out against Trump a couple of times. But you got to remember who this guy is. This guy had nothing.
Yeah.
Served 2 years in Austrian army. He knew at a young age that America is where he needed to be. He had to be here. He dreamt of coming here, and he is probably the quintessential success story. And when he's telling you, when you come here, you're a guest.
Yeah.
And you treat it like you're a guest here. And you do what they ask you to do. You behave the way you're supposed to behave, and you give back, and you become a citizen of that country, and you give back everything you can because that country gave you so much when you got here. And people like Ilhan Omar, I don't know what drives her to the point where she despises this country so much. But I'm like, I've seen the movie Black Hawk Down. Somalia is a shithole. It's a place that I wouldn't want to go. You wouldn't want to go. A lot of people wouldn't want to go back to Somalia. But if you have allegiance to another country like that, then go back. Go back there, make your country great, and then, you don't have to come here and bash the United States over and over again. But it just blows my mind when these people don't feel that way.
Exactly. And it's not even like she is her own thing, but it's the people that's keeping her in power. People are voting her in.
Yeah, they got a whole town in Minnesota, like the whole city of Minnesota. That's what they've done. Those individuals go to those particular cities like Detroit. All these cities are starting to get overrun by certain ethnic groups for, what they just go to those towns. They just go there, and then their cousin comes there, then their brother comes there, their uncle, their best friend. And then they got a whole society in these towns.
Exactly.
And then they're voting for those people to represent them, which is fine, but they're living in the cultural world of their foreign country. They're not coming here to assimilate, like most immigrants do when they come to America. Yeah. That's what they've done here since the beginning of time. Since the beginning of our founding, that they come here and they assimilate to the United States. Irish, the Germans, the Italians, the Hispanics, they all came here and they assimilated to America. And these people that are coming here now, they just don't want to do it.
Yeah, it's hard, and it's such a crazy. It's probably just a very challenging thing to tackle, because how do you even tackle that issue? Because if you do something, they're gonna say that you're, why are you just opposing this group of people, or like this or that. So it's just, if a country is doing so good for you, why are you bashing it? Why are you trying to knock it down?
I definitely think if you are, they won't ever do it. I mean, they could. I think anybody serving in Congress or Senate, you have to be allegiance to the United States. I believe you have to be born in the United States. I believe not only the President of the United States, our forefathers kind of screw up with that. Everybody that represents the United must be born here in the United States. Hands down, number one. And number two is, if you show allegiance to another country, you will be removed from office. It should be just a one-time, I'm all about Somalia. You're gone, because you can't represent the United States the way you're supposed to by showing allegiance to another country. That's just my opinion.
No, of course, and I totally agree with that. I mean, but what do you think? Do you think that they would actually implement that? Because I heard that they're thinking of doing it, but do you think they would actually go through the steps of actually
If they're
doing
going to do it,
something
they'll do it while Donald Trump's there. If not Donald Trump, and if maybe JD Vance or Marco Rubio becomes, president or vice president, I think they'll implement that some way. It's getting to the point where it's absurd.
No, yeah.
I mean, it's absurd when you've got people who are literally congressional members. You take an oath to this country, but yet you're in these groups of foreign countries, or you're in a group of foreigners in your state that you represent, and you are literally bashing the country you're living in.
Yeah.
And showing praise to the country that they're from or you're from, and you're showing that you're there to do what Somalia needs them to do while you're in Congress. It's really not what you're supposed to be in Congress to do.
No, yeah.
I mean, the will of the American people. And I just feel that sometimes there's going to become a point where there's a breaking point. I think we're going to get to where it's going to have to happen.
Yeah.
And people are going to have to be born here to become a legislator at some point. And you're going to have to, somewhere it's going to have to be in the Constitution where you're going to have allegiance to that country. And there's nothing wrong with it. We said it every morning in elementary school, Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge of Allegiance, yeah.
I mean, I don't know if they still have that in elementary schools, but some states are bringing it back.
Yeah.
Some states are bringing it back. I mean, there was only one or two kids. I think they were Jehovah's Witnesses. The only kids I remember that didn't actually say it when I was a kid. But there's a reason why you had it.
Yeah.
Because this is America. And if you're going to be here, you have to show an allegiance. Because the shit hits the fan, and all of a sudden we got some Russian subs or whatever subs off the coast of Florida or wherever the hell you're from. I mean, you better make up your mind real quick what side you're going to be on.
I know, yeah. And that's one question that I was going to ask you. Do you ever think, just hypothetical speaking, like, do you ever think, would there ever be a main land invasion of the United States? Like, let's just say if things do hit the shit in the fan and like things go crazy, do you think we will ever get invaded or like a inland attack on the United States?
No, I don't think so, because they know we have a lot of guns.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, it's 300 million people. I mean, this is so many people.
There's more guns than people.
Yeah, there's more guns than people, and I think if they did that, it would have to be some coordinate. Remember, there are some guys out there that got weapons like the military.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of guys out there. They got bunkers.
Yeah.
They just couldn't wait for that shit to happen.
Exactly.
I mean, they couldn't wait for the news to say we have a Soviet sub off the coast of Florida or coast of Georgia or coast of North Carolina. Those rednecks couldn't wait to get out in their trucks and open up their freaking hatch that they've got. They've been saving rounds for 30 years just waiting for this moment. So I think any country would be foolish to come here, because, when you go to these other countries, the civilians don't have arms. They don't have any guns. But you come to America, little old lady's got a gun.
Exactly.
Grandma's got some guns. So I don't think it would ever happen. I think if a country did it, it'd be a huge mistake. I believe they'd get decimated fairly quickly. Yeah. I mean, you just have the beach, and we were 5 minutes from the beach. You'd have the beach had just lined up with
ready for them to go.
F-150s and Chevys, and guys got a turret on the back of their truck with a machine gun on it. So yeah, I don't think that'll ever happen. It'd make a nice movie. It'd make a nice movie, but I don't think any country would be dumb enough to say, hey, let's try to invade the United States, because they wouldn't get very far. I don't think they'd get very far.
Yeah, and that's something that I asked my dad that too, and he's like, I don't think that's ever possible. And that's the same thing. Everybody here is armed, and he always says the only way that you can bring down the United States is from internally, within. And we're kind of seeing that. We see such great divide, and that's like another question. So like, so if another country is not going to do it, do you think us as citizens are going to do it to ourselves?
There was a Soviet guy who was an former KGB guy.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen him.
Yeah.
That's the plan. That's how they do it. They don't come in here and just take us over. They do it within. They get people in power. They help people get in power to do kind of what they want. I mean, so you're seeing kind of how, all of a sudden it's all about the Muslims now. And it's like, wow, that's just so strange. That's just so strange that's every time that you have to talk about that particular religion, but you can't say anything against that religion. You can say anything against Christianity all you want. Yep. It's not a big deal. But anything about being a Muslim or something like that, that's a big no-no.
It's a touchy subject.
That's a touchy subject. Which, why all of a sudden, at 20 years later, 24 years later, after the towers go down, that you can't talk about that religion at all.
Yeah.
But that's how they're going to do it. They're going to come and they're going to manipulate us with the media. They get the media,
Yeah.
they get social media, which they've done that
Already
to
done.
done that to a pretty good extent. But they've got the schools, they got the colleges up, universities.
Yeah.
They've got that down pat. And it's sad because the right had an opportunity to get all that stuff at one point. They just kind of, they just let the left have it. And we'll give them the colleges, universities. We'll give them the media so they can, and then look what happens.
Yeah.
Now I still see people with COVID masks on. I still
Yeah.
see people at least once or twice a week. I see somebody with a mask on.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking at them going, do you not know what happened? Do you not know the data that has come out about this, that you're wearing something now for no reason whatsoever?
Yeah.
No reason. But there's people that they know. It was like a huge experiment.
Yeah. It's a social
It was
experiment.
a social experiment.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, we're going to see how many we can get. All right, they knew they got about 85, 90% of the people at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then that lasted about a month.
A month,
And then they started losing a percentage. And then it got to the point where now they've got about 2 to 3% that they know they've got no matter what.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
they know they can manipulate at least 2 to 3% of the American population or the world population very easily.
Yeah.
And how many people in the world? You multiply that times 2 or 3%. That's a lot of robots.
a
a
lot
lot
of
of
people.
robots you can get under your control.
Yeah.
So I think the people that you got walking around with a mask on now, that's the 2 or 3% that they just flip a switch, and next thing you know, they're the ones piling on you. So it was an experiment, and I think that somewhere there is data
Oh yeah.
on the people that wore masks, the people that were yelling at other people that didn't have one, and who those individuals are. And I think it was a huge social experiment. I think they got data on it. And I think they're just waiting to see when the next time when they can do that. I don't think they'll be able to do it to the extent they did it this time, but because it's like a new thing for us.
Yeah.
But this is it. It's never going to happen to that extent. No one's ever going to. You're never going to get 90% of the people putting a mask on.
Yeah.
That's never happening again.
They definitely yeah, it was just a weird time up in Maryland. I remember I was with a group of friends and like just outside, and we didn't have our mask on because it was outside. Like we were just with everybody, and we had legit like people yelling at us, like, "Put a mask on! We wear masks around here." Like I remember, I remember literally just walking outside getting yelled at, and we were all hanging out, so like we knew none of us had it during that time, but like there was a huge commotion, and like you said, like it was pretty much to see how the public was going to react, and it was the whole world. Like everybody was scared, and
Isn't it, when you look back, there's going to be probably some documentary in 15 years from now.
Of course.
And they're going to go and they're going to break down the whole COVID thing, the fiasco.
It is wild.
And they're going to find out, they're going to probably show the statistical data of how many people they were able to control at one point in time, who were they able to get to keep their masks on, the percentage. And like you said, we wear masks around here. I mean, you had people who were policing each other.
Yeah.
People realize how important it was to vote the certain people, and even in your lower echelon politicians, local county officials, town officials, because those people became like the Gestapo.
No,
okay, they
it really
became
was.
ruthless. So now you realize, even your school boards, people realize how important your vote is, and people didn't take local elections very seriously for the most part.
Yeah.
People didn't take local elections very seriously. Now, after COVID and after all that shit that these politicians did, people are really paying attention to local elections and the kind of people you're going to put in there.
Exactly.
Because shit hits the fan again, you're not going to want the ruling class telling you what to do and put a mask on and stay 6 feet away and you got to wash your hands. You can't come into this restaurant. You have an ID card that says you got vaccinated. That's never going to happen again.
No, yeah. I mean, like, just look at the extreme, Australia. Those guys over there couldn't even move a muscle. After 8 o'clock, if you left your house, you would have, like, the police would come round you up. They had no freedom over there. And, like, that was, like, a good showcase of what an extreme, like, case of kind of that trying to control the population. People couldn't move anywhere. Like, you had a curfew. So I found it really interesting how different countries did their stuff. And like here we had the extreme, like in California, New York, and then you had kind of like the looser end of everything, kind of like in the more redder states, like in Texas and Florida.
But see, that's the influx. So
Yeah.
that's why Texas is having a problem with the redistricting,
Yep.
because they're supposed to do it every 10 years. And they did it in 2021 and it got all screwed up. But they had so many people coming to their state.
Yep.
Florida the same way. So many people come to the state. They're like, we need to change. Even though we just had a census, we have hundreds of thousands more people that moved into the state.
Yeah.
Because they fled California,
Yeah, they fled California.
York. They fled all these places that they realized their freedoms were
Taken away.
taken away. Literally, freedoms were taken away. So we're starting to see that. So people value where you live now.
Yeah.
There were people that came here that I met. They were like, "Yeah, we came here, stayed in an Airbnb for 6 weeks because they needed to get away,
Yeah.
and then we moved.
Yeah.
We moved down here."
And that's like, but that just shows them that they have to vote a certain way if they want to continue having that type of liberty, where they don't have a state that's always implementing the government power on them. And like, Florida and Texas were the two main states at that time, during that time, and that's why they came over here. So I mean, like, that's why, like Joe Rogan talks about it all the time. He left California like that because of how crazy everything was going. He's like, I'm getting the heck out of here, and he moved to Austin. So like, it's the same thing with everybody. They saw how everything was just more free, and like you were able to do anything without having like the government tell you what to do. So it makes sense for them to come, but they also have to understand that they have to be voting a certain way to continue those type of liberties or those policies that they see in these states to continue. And status that we're in right now with Trump and the Republicans, like, what do you think is going to look like in 2026 and ultimately 2028? Because how 2026 goes is ultimately going to be how 2028 goes. So what is your opinion on that?
I think if he gets, this is why the left is fighting him so hard.
Yeah.
If he gets no income tax done,
Yeah.
the left will never win another election. They'll never win another election. And they know that. They know that if he can get no income tax for anybody making under $200,000, and that's what the whole trade thing is about. The tariff thing is A, get more manufacturing in the United States, B, get rid of the income tax.
Mm-hmm.
And if they start generating between $700 and $750 billion a year in tariff revenue, they will do away with income tax. If anybody making under $200,000, which is a significant amount of Americans, the Republicans will never lose. And she's trying to. That's why everything he's doing, in my opinion, is so hard charged, so right now, and so urgent because he's only got 3.5 years.
Yeah.
And he needs to get it. Look, whoever his heir apparent is, whether it's J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, maybe DeSantis. They don't talk about DeSantis as much as they talked about Rubio and him, just because DeSantis really screwed up running in 2024. He ran. He never should have ran.
It was a poor. It was
never
a
should
poor
have
run.
ran.
Yeah.
He listened to the wrong people, and he really fucked himself by running.
Yeah.
But like if Trump's done and he puts his support behind a J.D. Vance and Mark, and he says, this is the ticket. This is who I want to take over for me. J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio as a vice president. The field of Republicans is going to be probably none. I don't think anybody, maybe a couple of people try to run, but I don't think they'll get anywhere.
Yeah.
And then after that, you'll get Marco Rubio probably after that. And he goes, Marco Rubio's my age. He's still got plenty of time. But I really think if Trump can get some of those things done, like the whole no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, it really was done not the way he had said it. You know, it's a credit at the end of the year, and it's still a credit.
Yeah.
There are people that actually do fill out a tax form and do claim some of their tips because they either want to buy a house, a car, so they got to show stated income.
Yeah.
One where not everybody that waits tables doesn't declare any income.
Of
And
course.
people that do their overtime, they're going to get a nice fat check back at the end of the year.
Yeah.
So I think once 2026 comes around, people will start seeing that in their tax returns.
Of course.
A significant amount of money.
Okay.
It's going to be a shock to a lot of people, I think. But I think in the next year and a half, 2 years, if the tariff thing just works, I'm telling you, Republicans will win 2026 very easily. But they only got about a year left until they start announcing, what they're going to do, who's running and all that for 2026. And then they're all running for re-election, so they're not going to get a lot done. And Trump knows that. So, but if he gets that done, I honestly believe the Democrats, you won't see them doing shit. You'll hear crickets because they know if he can get that done, and you aren't paying income tax out of your check, and then you realize that a state that you live in is charging you a state tax,
Yeah.
and your federal tax, they're going to be gone too. They're going to start losing their elections.
Oh, no,
It'll be a domino effect for all those blue states that charge you a state tax.
Exactly.
So if he gets rid of the income tax, and then all you got is a state tax, people are going to start getting up in arms, and they're going to be like, hey, listen, we need to get rid of this.
Of course.
Or we're out of here, or we're going to vote you out.
No, yeah, and that's probably the that's how they should go, because 4 years, realistically speaking, it's not a long time for dramatic change. So they're trying to get everything done so quick. So like, he definitely needs to have somebody like after he finishes his 4 years to continue his work, because this is not a 4-year project.
Yeah, that's why he picked young people.
Exactly.
I think he thought about it. He picked young people for the fact that he wanted younger people in there that he can mold, and that will be on his team. 'Cause, he's the leader of the Republican Party. I don't care what anybody says. He's the leader of the Republican Party. He's going to be the kingmaker as long as he's still alive. When he gets out of office, you will have to go see Trump, and then when Trump's gone, you'll have to go see his kids. Like, that's how it's going to work. And I know it's hard for people to accept that, but that's how it is. He's built that brand to the point where when he's gone, it's going to be Don Jr. that you got to go through Don Jr. His endorsement is going to be like getting an endorsement from his father.
So do you think do you think his family is going to be kind of like a Kennedy family, where like they're kind of having like a little bit of like a dynasty where all their kids go start working in government? Like,
I don't think the Trump kids are going to go in government. It's better to be the kingmaker than the king.
Yeah.
It is. In the political world, I think it's better for them to be the maker. So they're going to be the ones that you want to run for president, you want to run for, you got to come see Don Jr. That's important. That's power.
Yeah.
And like it or not, that's how it works.
No,
and they're going to be the ones that you're going to want
endorsing
their endorsement in order for you to run for office, a high office, Congress, governor, president. You're going to want them. And that's the brand Trump's building. So when people are like, oh, he's ruining the country, he's not ruining the country. He's doing everything he can to solidify his legacy for his children, his grandchildren, and so on. His legacy is extremely important to him.
Yeah.
He said it to R.F. Kennedy Jr.
Yeah.
That his legacy is very important. That's why he wanted to come back, because he wanted to make sure when he's gone that they look back on his presidency as a success for all Americans.
Of course.
And if people don't understand that, being an egomaniac bothers a lot of people, but being an egomaniac is good, because this guy wants to do everything he can to make it good, so everybody has a good opinion of him when he's long gone. 20 years down the road, when they're trying to put statues of him.
Yeah.
And then those people that were on the left, like, man, I hated him at first, but you know what? When he got rid of that income tax, I was like, I'm on the Trump train. So I think that's going to be important. And I think when he's gone, his kids are going to be the ones that are going to be taking the mantle.
That's okay. Yeah, I mean, like, I can see that, but I can also see how that might. Do you think that might hurt the Republican Party, where like you might have a divide with Republicans who are on Trump's side, or maybe a Republican that might be.
They're putting people in there. It's not really. I don't really call it MAG, okay?
Yeah.
Because at some point, America's going to be back to being great. So it's going to be great. It's an acronym, and people, you're in cults. It's not a cult.
Yeah.
It's an acronym that just means it's symbolic to what this country was, is, and hopefully always will be, a beacon of freedom, hope, success, where a poor kid from nowhere can rise up and become the president of the United States if they wanted to, or become a CEO of a company, create a successful company. And that happens in America. Yeah. It doesn't happen anywhere else. Look at all the social media platforms made in America. Yeah. Look at the successful cars made in America. So everything is successful has come out of America, and by our drive and our success and our passion and our freedoms. And I think they're going to get enough people in there that are like-minded Republicans. And because right now the Republicans, they're still fighting with each other.
Yeah.
They still fight with each other. And I think eventually they're going to get it to the point where they're all on the same side, they're all good, and they're all going to believe in one thing. Yeah. But it's going to takes a long time to wash a dirty pair of clothes. You got to put it through the wash a couple times.
Yeah.
And this may not just not going to be Donald Trump's presidency. Probably going to be another Republican. But what people lose sight of, you got to have another Republican again.
Yeah.
You got to have the Republican for two, 3 more terms, and then everything's good. And then you'll understand what it takes, because it just doesn't happen overnight.
No, yeah, and that's something that I also agree with. But then you look at the other side. I mean, like, what I think is going to happen is also that, like, you know, a Republican will be president again. But like, when you look at the Democratic side and the left, who's the leader in the Democratic side? Because we see them also divided. You also, you not like,
They got nobody.
Exactly.
They got nobody.
Like
Bernie Sanders, that dude ain't running again. He's like 84 years old. He's not running. Bernie Sanders or Joe Biden proved we don't want an old man like that. Yeah. Now Trump is 79 years old, but he doesn't look like an old man. He maybe have that his swollen legs or whatever, but he doesn't walk like an old man. Yeah. We saw Joe Biden falling apart in front of our eyes.
Yeah.
And America realized we don't want a president like that anymore.
No, yeah, and I mean, like, we learned that, and then like, but then you see like how that party's going now. You like have Mandani, who's a communist. But then you have Democrats also saying like, no, we don't want to go that route. So they're kind of like tearing each other apart. So like, I don't see how they.
Yeah, Elizabeth Warren jumped on his train.
Exactly.
She jumped on his train because they're probably like, you need to endorse him, and like, or you're not going to get any money for your reelection.
Exactly. And then like you're seeing that she's saying like, this is the model that we want the nation to go by. So she's not even saying like, this is how I want just New York. She's saying this model that Mandani has is the model that she wants her party to go by. So are they saying that they want to be basically full-blown socialist communists and make the country basically a communist country? Like that's what she's saying.
I think these people are so full of themselves that they believe what they believe is better for us.
Yeah.
They believe telling us what to eat, telling us what to drink, how many big gulps we can have in a week is, they know better than us.
Yeah.
That's what they truly believe. They believe they know better for us, and that's where it's got to be. So they want people like that so they can just continue. Once these people are in office, they stay in office
years,
decades, and they don't get it. They're going to do what they got to do to keep those people in check. And the more little soldiers they can get out there that manipulate those people and get more people on board, that's what they're going to do. They're going to get people like that, like Mandami. They're going to get people like that to do their bidding. Trust me, that guy gets in there, he's going to be doing what they tell him to do.
Yep.
He's not going to be a free thinker. He's going to be doing what they told him to do, and that's what they want. They need minions.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, that's just unfortunate for New York City, and hopefully they find a way to get somebody else inside there. But from what it looks like, he might be taking it over there, because just from how the polls are looking like. So we'll see. I mean, like, hopefully if he does get in office and like he starts implementing the stuff that he's preaching, you're going to have people leaving the city, like these big companies. They're not going to be wanting to be paying all these taxes on their goods. They're going to be going to states like Florida, here, and Texas, and doing all that. So the city's just going to get poorer, and then they're not going to be able to get all those things that he's saying that he's going to give. So hopefully that's, I mean, like it's like what I always say, like, we as humans, we don't learn by, saying, hey, like, if you do this, don't do that because they're going to hurt you. I'm going to be looking at you saying like, oh, that's not, if I touch that cup, nothing's going to happen. But if I touch it and it shocks me, I'm like, oh wait, he was right. So like, all these people are telling everybody that are saying that they want him to be, mayor of New York City. And they're like, no, like, that's just, you're just saying that to scare us. Like, you don't understand, like, he's going to do that. But then, like, if he goes into office and implements it, I don't think it's going to be a good outcome for people in New York City. But I don't know, like, just like other countries have used and other systems using these socialist and communist ideas, it never really works out for the regular people.
It never works out. It always works out for the people that have the money.
Exactly.
Never works out. They sell you a bill of goods, and you know what? They're never going to realize it until, look, Trump doing the things that he's doing, it's not popular for some of the people in the country because they're easily manipulated, and they're going to, no matter what he does, they got Trump derangement syndrome. No matter what he does, it's going to be bad. No matter what it is.
No matter what.
He can hand him a nugget of gold, It's just, it's not that I don't like it.
Yeah, they
It's
don't-
Trump
yeah.
gave it to me. I don't want that piece of gold. But if he can get some of these things done that he's been trying to implement, that's the only way they're going to see.
No, yeah.
And people that want gratification right now, it's going to be a while. It's going to take, even Ronald Reagan, his first 2 years, he wasn't doing too hot. The economy wasn't doing too great. And then when his stuff started getting implemented about after 2 years, then you started seeing, reaping all the benefits with the lower taxes.
Yeah.
He started fixing, because the housing interest rate was crazy under Carter. So it takes a little while to get, Trump has got a big mouth. He likes to say, hey, it's going to happen overnight.
Yeah.
It's day one, the Ukraine war is going to stop. Hopefully, I guess they did an announcement today about that, but he was doing some announcement about Russia today, not Soviet Union anymore, doing something about Russia. I can't remember what I didn't get to watch it because we did the show.
Yeah.
But I think if he can get some of these things done and people can hang in there for another year or so, I think 2026 is going to be, I say it on every one of my shows, 2026 is going to be, it should be a phenomenal year once all this smoke settles. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, so on that note, man, it's been fun.
It's been awesome.
So join me next time, guys. We can have some chit chat, some observation, and some good old fashioned conversation.